Okay, good evening, everyone. Again, want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. Uh, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Vaughn, who is the Assistant Superintendent of Academic Programs, to kind of state the purpose for us tonight.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking your time out to join us this afternoon, and for putting one of the very most important things um, in this partnership first, and that is making sure that we're able to communicate. The purpose of these three sessions is a three-part series, is to increase the relationship, the partnership, the communication between home and school. And in that, ensuring that we are able to, in layman's term, real talk, real words, would you have an opportunity to hear real examples of how we can make this work for our students. The series came about in making sure that we were able to reach parents from all facets of life, but then that we were able to lose some of those education terms and just really to, as Dr. Williams said, break it down into words that we all could understand. But with that one common goal of pushing our children to higher levels and to be better. With that, this first series, the first of the series is around, is your child life ready? The second one will center around giving a lifeline supports, and examples of resources that are available to you. And then the third series centers around moving our relationships and our communication skills to the next level, specifically in those families. Again, thank you so much for joining us for this first session. We invite you to join us for the next two, and just to work with us in continuing the partnership. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. I've been given the task of introducing Dr. Cunningham. And a wise man told me that if a person deserves a long introduction, or if they expect a long introduction, they probably don't deserve it. And if they deserve it, then they shouldn't expect it. And Dr. Cunningham definitely is deserving of a long introduction. So I'm sure he does not expect one. So Dr. Carl Cunningham is a native of Mobile, Alabama. He's a graduate of Murphy High School. Dr. Cunningham received his undergraduate degree from Jackson State University in Urban Studies. Carl received his master's in geography and PhD in higher education from the University of Southern Mississippi. While in Hattiesburg, he worked and did research in the geography department and also worked as the National Panhellenic Council advisor for the Greek Life Department. He helped keep me out of trouble. Carl also worked at the University of Southern Alabama for 13 years, where he served as the director of multicultural student affairs. Carl was then recruited to go to the Alcorn State University, where he served as the vice president of student success and enrollment management. Carl is an active member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. He currently serves as the National Guide Right Mobile Kappa League Director. Dr. Cunningham has written a book entitled A Cut Above, Results of Positive Male Mentoring, which focuses on the importance of mentoring young men. Carl is a member of the Christ Church Episcopal Cathedral. His hobbies include playing the trombone. He is also a member of the Elixir Brass Band. He enjoys reading, traveling, African-American genealogy, and attending Jackson State University. And if I could tell you the point of personal privilege, if you know Dr. Cunningham, he is all about quality and excellence. So at this time, without delay, I introduce to you Dr. Carl Cunningham. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Well, good evening, everyone. How you doing? I hope all is well. I am from Mobile, Alabama. As mentioned earlier, I am at my place, and it's something unique about where I live. I live in downtown Mobile, so I live 4 blocks from the parading route, and there's a huge Mardi Gras parade tonight that begins at 6:30 p.m. So I'm on a time schedule myself because I'm going to the Mardi Gras parade tonight. So just want to let you all know I'm going to have some fun after I give this presentation. And at the meantime, I would like to thank Dr. Williams for that introduction, give a shout out to the members of the Hattiesburg Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I was a former Kappa League director for the Hattiesburg Kappa League from 1997 to 2002. And I see some of my former classmates on from the University of Southern Mississippi as well. Southern Miss to the top, and give a shout out to that space as well. So thank you all, and thank you parents for logging on as well. So tonight, I want to talk to you about, is your child life ready? And I have the opportunity to work with many children during the day. I work at Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm TRIO director, so I deal with Upward Bound student support services, and those that work with children who are from first generation homes, low income, and even our veterans. And so I have the opportunity to work with students and trying to move students to complete their 2-year or 4-year degree. And so I know what spaces many of our students come from and some of the struggles and the triumphs that they have in those spaces. So next slide, please. So I had the opportunity to look at the Hattiesburg School District goals, and let's review those, because it's always good to review our purpose and what we're supposed to be doing every day. And particularly as parents, understanding what is the purpose of the Hattiesburg School System District, what are the strategic plan goals? And so goal number 1 is academic success. So the school system has in place that our ultimate goal is to make sure that our students are achieving academically. And number 2 is effective and committed staff. Number 3 is a positive school climate and culture. And number 4, family and community engagements. And number 5, fiscal responsibility and sustainable resources. So these are the 5 basic goals that the Hattiesburg Public School System District has put out in their strategic plan. And it's important that everything that we do, whether in the classroom, in the community, that we are all meeting these 5 goals in any programming that we're doing, even in our homes. Parents, you see these 5 goals, you want to make sure that you are mirroring these goals even within your home, in your community. And even if we have faith-based people on this Zoom call as well, it's good that you see this as well, because this can be implemented not only at your church, but during Sunday school, and even when you're having events and activities at your church as well, or your space of worship. Next slide, please. So this session will provide parents with the following tips for their students and scholars. We're going to talk about tips for college preparation, tips for careers, and just basic life skill tips. Next slide. So this is one of my mottos I use: today's learners, tomorrow's leaders. So that's how I look at all the students that I come in contact with. Any young man or young woman that I see, if I'm in the barbershop, if I'm walking in the grocery store, if I'm walking in the mall, I always look at young people as today's learners and tomorrow's leaders. And you could be from any background, from any community. I want to know, are you willing to learn, and do you want to be a leader? And it's my job as an educator to pull that out of all of the students that I come in contact with the very best that I can. And so working with parents on my end, I really hone in, like, you have a leader in your home, you have a learner in your home. And so I work with parents in setting up that space. What should that look like in your house? What should that look like in your community? What should that look like in your church, if you're going to truly move students to be learners and to be leaders? Next slide, please. So this is just a little data that I like to present to my parents when I talk to them in Mobile, and also to my students. And so this is the educational pay scale. This was taken from the United States Bureau of Labor Statistics. And when I present this, many of my students and parents are like sort of in awe when they see this. And this is the breakdown of just what education affords you in this country. And we know that people with less than a high school diploma, on average, this is average now, we know we have some outliers in all of this, but on average, make about $30,000 a year. We know people that complete high school on average make about $38,000 a year. Some college, but not a college degree, about 43. People that have associate degree, that's a 2-year degree completion from a 2-year college, average about $46,000. We know with the bachelor's degree, that's about 64,000. Master's degree, 77. Professional degree, that's PhDs, MDs, JDs, so forth, 96,000. And then doctorate degrees, PhDs and so forth, 97,000. So you see the value of having some form of education. So this conversation really has to begin when your child enters kindergarten, right? You want to have the conversation with everybody in the house. What is our goal as a family? Where do we want to be as a family 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Because if you had noticed already, these kids grow up really fast. Like time is constantly moving, right? And nobody's waiting for nobody. Time does not wait for anyone. So each day, each hour, each minute is precious. So you always want to continue having this conversation in your space. What is the ultimate goal in regards to my children and my family? Where do we want to be in the home? Where do we want to be in the community? And where do we want to be even as a school system and as a district? Next slide, please. I found this information interesting as well, because many students and many parents ask, well, what should he major, or what should she major in, or what should my student major in when they're seeking some type of formal degree? And so as you can see, agriculture, you see the base salary on average of dollars with that, 54,000. Communication, you see business degrees, what they make. Humanities, if you major in humanities, possibly 59,000. Math, and we know math and science, engineering and computer science, we call that STEM, STEAM, and we know science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, right? That's what we call STEAM. Now, well, the new word is STEAM now, it's STEAM. And so we know those math degrees, engineering degrees, computer science degrees, people who major in those areas make a lot of money. And I know that from the students that I serve who maybe come out of difficult or stressed communities, but if they major in math, science, engineering, and so forth, they are able to literally go from being low income coming out of high school, and within 5 years, they're making $65,000 a year. And that's a huge, huge shift in the family when you have one child and then the next child able to make $65,000 a year within 5 years, right? So you have to always think about that. What does your child enjoy? Are you pushing your child to take the AP honor classes at Hattiesburg High School, and even at the middle school level? You know, are we pushing them to take the more challenging classes? Next slide. This is the next slide. When does the college career life skills conversation begin? This is a picture of me. The first picture that you see to the far left is I am 7 years old, right? I did not want to take the picture. As you can see, I'm holding my hand. It's at Jackson State homecoming, right after the parade. My dad went to Jackson State, so we would drive from Mobile when 98 was 2-lane, right? Some of y'all may remember that, I don't know. 98 was 2-lane, we called it Bloody 98. And we would drive from Mobile to Jackson, come through Hattiesburg, go to the gang, stay overnight and come back. Well, I'm 7 years old, right? And so that was kind of being implemented into me about going to college, right? Here I am going to see Jackson State. My dad exposed me to campus, to homecoming, right? At 7 years old. So fast forward, this is the next picture of me. I think I'm a junior in this picture, and I'm in the marching band. So I went to Jackson State, right? Kind of like what I was exposed to. Played in the marching band for 4 years. Was on a music scholarship at Jackson State. Played the trombone, right? And then the last picture is my commencement, right? One of the pictures that I found. I graduated with honors. That's what the gold cords mean, from Jackson State University. So all of that strategically, as you can see, was kind of sort of planned out, right? I don't know if my parents, ever thought I was going to go to Jackson State, but as you can see, just the exposure of going to college, of going to a homecoming. Remember, you all are only an hour and some change away from Jackson State. I'm driving from Mobile almost every weekend, and with my parents going to that. But that was important for my parents to expose the entire house to college. I think that was their goal. And they were young parents as well, but they just wanted to make sure that we were exposed. So that as a result of their efforts, I just wanted to show the results of that. Next slide. So start planning for college in middle school. It's important that you start planning. Middle school is the perfect time for you to start planning for college. The process has to begin in middle school. Why? Because there's less pressure in middle school, and we know middle schoolers will make mistakes, right? So this is time for the middle schoolers, particularly 7th and 8th graders, to make mistakes. We start correcting them and putting them on some type of path and helping them, to study, create study skills, and also preparing them to enter high school, because we know that your high school GPA will begin to follow you in 9th grade, right? That's going to determine future scholarships. They're going to determine who's going to write your letter of recommendation. So use middle school. We know what a middle schoolers can do. We know they make mistakes again, but it's a time to begin to create some type of study habit, some type of formulation on where we think our young people, our young scholars would like to go. Next slide. So the transition from middle school to high school, I think it's important that we establish good study habits. That's important. Many of my students on the collegiate level, on the college level, they say they don't have good study habits, and they will tell me, I never had to study. And that's baffling to me. You never had to study. They're like, no, I don't know how to study. So we are in college trying to teach students how to study, right? Well, that can be handled, parents in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and really carving out space and time and making your students study. I ask students all the time, like, where are your books, right? Well, we don't have to take books home. What are you reading? What book are you reading? I'm not reading nothing. So parents, I encourage you to ask, well, what are you reading? Or we need to go to the library and check out a book, or we need to download some books to read. So never allow idle time to take place. I see a lot of idle time taking place. And so learning needs to be constant. Explore extracurricular activities. I played the trombone, right? My brother played football. So we were very active, in the house. I enjoyed music. He enjoyed athletics. And so those are the things that we did in the home. And we also were involved with volunteering. So my parents made us volunteer for the American Red Cross when I was a kid. We used to do Christmas wrappings in 5th and 6th grade, help needy families. And let me tell you, I was on a conference call earlier today with the vice president for Walmart. And the question was asked, what are you looking for an employee? And she stated, I'm looking for someone who's impactful and brings value to the company. And if you're not volunteering, and if you're not passionate about something in your community, I don't want to hire you. And I wrote that down today in my notes because I knew I was going to have this conversation. So parents and even school administrators really pushing students to be involved in the community through various organizations is vital. Reading is everything. The data shows that when it comes to African American males are at the bottom when it comes to reading skills. And that's a conversation we don't like to have, but we need to have that conversation. So reading is a must. Many of my students come to my college and they can't read, right? They've passed kindergarten through 12th grade with low reading test scores. And here we are now, you're asked to do a reading composition page, or even if they're trying to go into the military or even just get a CDL license for trucking, right? There's some reading issues that we see occurring. Choose challenging courses. I talk to many students in middle school and high school, and I ask, you're very smart, why aren't you taking the honors AP classes? That's because they read too much. I hear that all the time, because I don't want to take those hard classes because you have to read, right? So parents, on your end, you need to encourage, yes, it's a little more reading, but at the end of the day, they will have the skills that they need to push into these other spaces when they choose to go to college, or if they choose not to go to college, because reading is fundamental. Get caught up and or ahead. So it's important when making the transition that your students are caught up and they're ready to move ahead. So you never want to create a space at home or in a space wherever that the students are falling behind. You always want to try to keep up with what's going on. That's the relationship and the team when it comes to building the relationship with the school, with the teacher and the administrators, and also the counselor at school. Parents, I need you to talk about college. Pastors, church leaders, community leaders, talk about college. I find ourselves in a space where many times we don't like to talk about college. And I see that in our community, in particular African American community, a lot. And our communities where there are an abundance maybe of stressed people or low income spaces. And so you have to talk about college. All of our teachers went to college, right? So you have teachers in front of you who attended Southern Miss, Jackson State, Alcorn, William Carey. And so they are a walking resource, right? And so we just have to encourage our students to ask them questions. And lastly, get familiar with college costs. You have to know you have to save money. So the sticker price for college is real, right? And so that conversation has to take place. How are we going to pay for college? So you don't wait until the senior year to figure that out, right? That conversation needs to be taking place really in kindergarten. If you think college is a goal for your household, for your student, that conversation really needs to begin in kindergarten. Again, I played the trombone. And I can remember when my dad bought my new trombone, he said, I'm buying this trombone not for you just to play, but to earn a scholarship, right? He had to explain that to me. And he said, I'm buying this trombone. All I know, it better play until it plays by itself. And I understood what that meant, right? I still have that same trombone, and I play it now in a brass band, and I make money with that trombone, right? So that investment not only paid for college, it still makes me money. That trombone cost $1,500. That was a lot of money my dad spent and my mom on that trombone. But guess what? It paid for college. I've been to London, England on that trombone. I've been to Mexico on that trombone. I play every night during Mardi Gras on that trombone. I get $100 a night. So I make $4,000, $3,000, $4,000 in the month of Mardi Gras. So that one trombone has paid everything off. So it's important that you invest in those spaces. Next slide. So college interview for ninth graders. This is for ninth graders. I give my ninth graders in my mentoring program this task. This is what they have to do. They have to go interview 2 people that went to college. And these are the questions that they have to ask those people. What college did you go to? What was your major or program? Did you find college a little different than high school, and so forth and so on? And so I love for them to come back and they give me their answers, and you ought to see their brains moving. Like, I didn't know my teacher struggled in this subject, or my teacher is an expert, or my teacher played in the marching band, or my teacher, he played football, right? So all of these things come back as the ninth graders go back to interview 2 people that went to college. It could be the teacher, someone at their church, I don't care. As long as they go back and get these questions answered, what that does, again, it moves the brain to start thinking about, okay, I can do it. I want to do it. It's affordable. I can get there. And so these questions are very good if you have ninth graders to make that brain piece move. Next slide. So in Mississippi, you'll be surprised on the number of people in the state of Alabama, Louisiana, and I'm sure Mississippi, they don't know the public colleges in Mississippi. And so I wanted to list them for everyone. We have Alcorn State, Delta State, Jackson State, Mississippi State University, MUW, Mississippi Valley State University, and University of Southern Mississippi. So these are our public colleges in the state of Mississippi. We see that 3 of them are historically Black colleges and universities as well. So
Dr. Cunningham, you froze up on us. Do apologize for that technical difficulty. Dr. Cunningham is going to log back in. while we're waiting on Dr. Cunningham to come back in, I would take this opportunity to share some information with everyone relative to the school district. Dr. Cunningham talked about mission and vision. And of course, as you know, the vision of Hattiesburg Public Schools is for every student to graduate prepared for success in life, college, and the workforce. And that sets the tone for the parenting series. We want every student to graduate prepared for success in life, college, and the workforce. And we know whether or not students are going to college or immediately into the workforce, life is going to touch everyone. And of course, our mission is simply to graduate. I saw this very powerful quote the other day in a conference. Is Dr. Cunningham back on?
No, sir.
Okay. I saw this very powerful quote the other day in a training, and it said, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And Jeff Bezos, the founder or the CEO of Amazon, that's the quote that he gave. He said that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we empower students to create their own brand so that when they leave the room, the impression that they leave the room will stick with everyone. Now, see, Dr. Cunningham is back on.
I have good Wi-Fi. I don't know what happened there.
It may be Mardi Gras.
Right. I'm like, wait a minute now. That's never happened. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but great point. Your brand is everything. And so when you go to these institutions, you're carrying your brand as well. Very good. Absolutely. Next slide. And I wanted to show you your private colleges in Mississippi as well. So these are your private colleges. They cost a little more to attend, but again, we have these colleges right in our backyard. Next slide. Our local community college. I am pro community college because I work at a community college now, and I just think they are very accessible. Community colleges offer an array of certification, of training, even if you don't want to go to college, in regards to a four-year college. Next slide, please. So what college is the best fit for you? So we talk about that. It's important that you look at the type of colleges you want to attend. You look at the student life, the location of the college, whether it's urban or rural, the size of the city, affordability of the college. You want to look at the admissions process to enter that space in that college. You may want to look at the housing on campus. Do you like the housing on campus? And of course, you have to look at the majors and the programs that are offered, and also the size of the classroom. All those things are important in regards to the size. Do you want to be in a class with 400 students, and you want to be in a class with 300 student parents? These are the conversation parents you have to have with your children. And a lot of times, you know your children and their capabilities as well. For me, I wanted an urban college. So people often ask, why didn't I go to Alcorn? Why did you choose Jackson State? I like the urban space. I'm an urban guy. I'm a city guy. I like city. So Jackson State was a perfect fit for me. My brother attended Florida A&M University, FAMU. That was a perfect fit for him. So even though we grew up in the same houses, same house, same parents, just again, we were different. We were different. And so different institutions may match a different personality of your child, of your scholar. Next slide, please. So interesting facts, students' achievement declines between middle school and high school. So parents, that's why it's important we work with this team effort in working with our counselors, our pastors, our teachers, our principals, and our administrators, because data shows that student achievement declines between middle school and high school. We also know declining achievement during the transition from high school impacts decisions for students to drop out of school. So we have to really be on top of that transition from middle to high. We also see behavioral problems resulting in suspensions and expulsions increasingly significantly early in the 9th grade. And I will speak on that. I have a young man that I mentor, and coming out of the pandemic, right, he came back to school in August when school started back. He was suspended twice in ninth grade at the beginning of the school year from August to September. Then I went back up to the school to have a conversation with him, like, hey, we have to get this together. And he wasn't suspended anymore, but I sit there and watch. I'm giving you this data, and I experienced that with the young man that I mentor through Big Brothers Big Sisters. So he struggled in the ninth grade as well. Students who have transitioned to ninth grade report that they academic ability to time manage. They struggle with time management, academic ability to stay on task and social skills. Now they're very important in high school, and so parents, you have to help navigate that, understand what that is, and be there for your ninth graders. Next slide. Military options. I think there are other options. We know everybody is not going to college, and college is not for everybody. So the military option is awesome as well. Whether you do the Army, Marines, Air Force, National Guard, Navy, Coast Guard. I know I'm talking to a lot of people who are on now who are members of our armed forces, and they do a great job in protecting our country. And they also do a great job in paying for college and giving great benefits. So this is another way, parents, that you and your household and your scholars in your homes can make a way in regards to shifting things in your home. Next slide, please. So we know the military enlistment action steps, and I wanted to give parents, steps on how this process works. For example, you schedule an appointment with your military recruiter. So you would do that in the fall. Then you have to take or retake the ASVAB test. And what is that test? That's called the Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. And so everyone has to take that test, and that gives you where you're going to fall in regards to the services of operations you will do in the military. Discuss delayed entry program with your recruiter. So you can delay as a high schooler your entry within the armed services. Complete physical exam. I talked to many of my students. I said, have you taken your physical? They're like, no. You have to take your physical exam. Review your ASVAB scores with your school counselor in the spring. Research potential careers for service, and then take the oath of enlistment as directed by the recruiter. And then, of course, prepare for boot camp in the spring. So parents, this is a timeline that I give my students in regards if they're going to enlist in the military. And they say this really helps them and gives them some type of guideline to move forward. Next slide, please. Workforce. We know that students will immediately graduate from high school, get certification, and go directly into the workforce. And there are many jobs, I know where I am on the Alabama Gulf Coast, where we are looking for students to immediately graduate from high school, certify them, and then get them into the job workforce. And so if your student or scholar is planning to work immediately after graduation, they need to speak to their local community college or technical college so they can learn about free training in advance or entering the workforce. Please note that most jobs people apply for will require either a resume or some type of application. So I work with students every day in trying to build their application, making sure that their resume fits the particular job they want to go into. So I think that's important, parents, that we continue to help our students build their resumes. That's when you need to contact, again, teachers, counselors, and so forth. And what do we look for on the resume? I'm looking for some type of experience in regards to, have you shadowed someone in your local area? Have you led some type of community service project? Are you involved in your city in helping someone? Again, we're looking for things of value that you bring to the table. So you want to continue to build the resume space. Great, next slide. So community faith-based collaboration. So this is a picture of 2 Sundays ago. My Kappa Leaguers attended church with me out here in Christ Church Episcopal Cathedral. What my church does once a year, we have a brunch, right? And we raise $4,000 to $5,000 for the Kappa Leaguers to take the ACT and for all of them to do ACT test prep. And so we've been doing this for 8 years. And with 8 years, I think we raised about $38,000 from my church to give to the Mobile Kappa League. Again, this is a ministry that we take very seriously at my church. And so this is a way that we help our young men increase their ACT scores, because we know the higher the ACT score, the more scholarship money that they receive. And so in order for them to shift their families to the next level, We know that ACT score plays a very important role in that. So we invest a lot of money and time into our ACT prep for the young men. I have 100 young men in my Capital League program. And so when you have 100 teenage boys in a city and a leadership development program, that can shift a city and some schools really, really quick. I have 16 schools, high schools that our young men attend within the Mobile and Baldwin County area. So this is a good collaboration. And I put this up here so just in case, again, we have some faith-based people here on this Zoom that you can do something like this in your congregation, or you can buy suits for the young men in your congregation. There are many things that churches can do to shift their communities around them. So this is just an encouragement that I want to share with you all as well. Next slide, please. Great. At this time, I would like to introduce to you all one of the my former Capital Leaguers. He entered the Capital League in 9th, 10th grade. His name is Robert Henderson. And as you can see to the far left, you see a picture of Robert when he first got in my program with the orange and green tie, right? Well, the CDC called one day and they said they wanted to fly myself and a Capital Leaguer to Washington to do a presentation about what we were doing in Mobile. And so Robert was selected to go. Robert changed his entire look. It was his first time going on an airplane. And as you can see, Robert is presenting in front of the CDC in Washington, D.C. And he was in the 11th grade there, maybe, Robert? 11th, what grade, Robert?
I think I was in 11th or 12th grade. I can't remember either.
11th or 12th grade. And next slide, please. And now Robert far left with his master's. And then now he works at the University of Alabama in student affairs at the University of Alabama. And Robert has a unique story. Next slide, please. Robert has 4 other siblings. He grew up in a family with all boys, mom, single mom, and all the brothers are really, really, really doing well. And so Robert is going to tell you just that experience, like growing up in a home, single parent family home, 5 boys right behind each other, right? A set of twins, as you can see to Robert's far left. So that's a house full of guys. And so Robert, I'm going to open the floor to you briefly and just to share your story.
Thank you, Dr. Cunningham, for having me. Probably my favorite mentor of all time. Dr. Cunningham and I think I was in 9th grade, 2009, I believe. I came through the Mobile Capital League. My brother went through the Capital League. And just a little bit about me. I'm from Mobile, Alabama, born and raised. Family of 5 boys, as you can see, raised in a single parent household, government assistance, every one of them with EBT, you named it, Section 8 housing. I lived there. I probably didn't get off Section 8 housing until I was about 17, 18 years old. And to give it a little context, that's probably 22 years of being on government housing. My oldest brother is 4 years older than me. And so I'm in the middle. I'm standing there in the blue and green sweater. And so my younger brothers are my twin brothers. They are military veterans, both served as Marines for 4 years. My brother to the left of me is my next to the oldest brother is Charles. He is a truck driver. So he got his commercial driver's license shortly after leaving high school. And my oldest brother is an insurance adjuster. And so that's a little bit about me and my family. My mom raised us as a single parent. She was 45 when she went back and got her nursing's degree. So she just graduated nursing school this year. To give you a little bit of context, my mama wanted us to all go to school. She really believed in education. She was there volunteering in the school just because she really, really felt like education is the way. Not all of us didn't go to college. I'm first in my family to get a bachelor's degree, first in my family to get a master's degree, and I'll be pursuing my PhD probably this fall, depending on my application status. So pray for me on that. But my mom was very involved in our education experience. From middle school, from elementary school to high school, she would come up to the school just so that she can be familiar and aware of what was going on. So I saw someone in the chat say, well, how can parents be involved since COVID? Go to the schools. That is the number one way that you'll get a lot of information, and you can ensure that your student is getting the information and there isn't any confusion from what they're saying they're getting from the school and how that translates to home. So I would say definitely be involved. That's the first opportunity. I know that sometimes that requires a lot of sacrifice. My mom did that on her lunch break. She would come and volunteer in the library, or just watch the halls to make sure students transition well. And so those 30 minutes definitely pay off in the long run. And I think just those small opportunities that you are presented with to get involved in the school system, take advantage of that. I won't talk too much more about me, but I will say that as transitioning as a first generation college student, in navigating the college process, I was left with one or two decisions upon my senior year, and I was either go to the military or the only way I was going to go to school was through playing football. And so luckily I was able to get a football opportunity at Tuskegee University. I started there in 2014 and transitioned to the University of Alabama in 2015 after discovering that I was prepared to take on a bigger institution. I think at the time Tuskegee had 3,400 and University of Alabama had 36,000, but I wanted to go and challenge myself in a different academic setting that I had never realized before. But Dr. Cunningham talked about the community college process, and I'm a big advocate for community colleges as well, because I understand that not every student is going to be ready to go to Ole Miss or Mississippi State, and even Jackson State or Alcorn State. And so it's okay to go to that community college level. Tuskegee is not community college. It's a SIAC school, Division II school, but it has significantly less students than the University of Alabama. So get involved, figure out what your student is interested in, and start kind of navigating them and getting them involved and introducing them to different experiences that can prepare them for, whether that be after high school or helping them kind of have a sense of idea of what they want to major in college. I meet with a lot of students who haven't done anything career-wise or of career interest, and so trying to figure out what they're going to study for the next 4 years of their life. They're trying to figure it out as they go. And so I meet with students all the time at the University of Alabama who have changed their major 3 or 4 times because they haven't had the opportunity to do that career exploration through middle school or high school. And so they're trying to figure that out now. But I'll stop there and let Dr. Cunningham continue. I think Q&A is probably more important. And so we'll go from there.
Thank you, Robert. So thank you for sharing, Robert. Thank you so much. What question? We're going to open the floor for questions. I can't see the chat, but what questions do we have?
Dr. Cunningham, and I also elevated, we do have other administrators on the panelists. The first question was answered about how can parents participate during the pandemic. The next question is, what age can children start taking the ACT?
Depending on middle school, now 7th or 8th grade, if you have a student that you know can handle some of the vocabulary and math and they've been exposed to it, 7th or 8th grade. The ACT has algebra, geometry, and some trigonometry, right? Algebra 2. So if your child has been exposed to that math space, by all means, but even if they only take an algebra and geometry, still allow them to take the test because it's in sections, right? So you can see in English wise where they're scoring and what you need to work on. In math space, you can see what they need to do and what they need to work on. So if you have a high performing student, I definitely say 8th grade, right? But they really need to start taking it the summer, going into their 10th grade year, because you need to start having some type of measurements. Where are you now? What we need to work on, what we need to really, really push. So 8th grade, yes.
Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Vaughn or Mr. Brown, if you're on, can you share what we're doing in Hasbro Public Schools as it relates to the ACT test, ACT prep? Many of you all know we have the middle college program for 11th and 12th graders, and we've had probably 30 to 40 students that actually graduate from junior college prior to graduating from high school. So Ms. Vaughn and Mr. Brown, if you're on, can you talk about what we're doing for 7th, 8th, and 9th in that space?
Yes. Good evening. I did, the parent that asked a specific question, I did answer it in the chat, but for everyone, I want to just make sure that you know that your student can start as early as age 13 to take the ACT. In fact, here in Hattiesburg, we're following the research model of early and often. And many of our parents and our students have really bought into that. And in the past 2 years, and we're looking forward to doing it again this summer, we've really pushed that space of early and often. And by that, I mean providing summer opportunities for our 8th grade babies to take the ACT. Not only have we been doing the prep for them, but we actually pay for them to take the ACT. We provide the vouchers to do that. So that begins in the summer with our incoming 9th graders who are currently in the 8th grade. Also at the middle school, in some of their CTE classes, their career classes, they do ACT prep practice work. So we're exposing them to the process early, and then we're actually providing that resource for them to be able to take that assessment early, because that is one of the first key steps. And then our 9th and 10th graders, they're also able to go to the summer camp. We actually had about 100 students this summer to do that. And the great thing about that is not only was it a prep and then a piece where we paid for it, it actually took place on a college campus, a community college campus. Pearl River Community College partnered with us. So we were able to bus our students to that camp for a good 4 weeks and participate in prep from those professors. So it gave them a dose of the college life experience on top of the early exposure, and then the actual helping the parent with paying for that. So we're excited to provide that opportunity. And then throughout the school year, Mr. Brown can also elaborate. I spoke to the early and often model. We also pay for 10th graders to take the ACT in the spring. We're actually preparing to do that April 5th. And then we pay for our 11th graders to take it once in the fall too. And now all of this is in addition to your 4 vouchers that you're allowed to have in Hattiesburg Public Schools, being a school district that is free and reduced lunch. So we're excited to have that for our students. And additional pieces, we're working on those throughout. I know we have a wheel, as we call it, an ACT prep class during the school year, but because everyone's not able to get into that class, we've saturated into our 11th and 12th grade classes, our upper level classes where they have ACT prep bell ringers and such. Mr. Brown, um, with that piece, Mr. Brown has said that I've covered everything. Again, with our college and career readiness piece, the ACT, the ACT, the ACT. Now, we've kind of muddled through this and realized not everyone wants to go to college. However, the ACT is key to getting many opportunities. With that, because you may change your mind later and decide that you want to go to college. So getting the very best score that you possibly can, and getting the exposure to the assessment
Ms.
early.
Bond. Oh,
Yes.
excuse me. We do have another question. Maybe you're Mr. Brown or Dr. Cunningham. How do you get the voucher? So I think I can answer that one. In the Hattiesburg Public School District, our free and reduced lunch rate is 97%. So all of our students qualify for the voucher. So during their 11th grade year, you can go to the high school counselor and they can help you with that information.
Yes, sir. And they have 4 opportunities to do that between 11th and 12th grade year, free of charge.
Dr. Cunningham, do you
Yes.
have, I know we're on slide 22. I wanted to make sure we had an opportunity for you to finish your presentation.
I think the next one is the question mark.
Oh, okay.
Well, I know. I think I have one more. Go ahead. This is just a parent assignment. I gave the parents homework. Next slide.
Oh, okay.
So the parent homework assignment, I will say this, parent, when there's a college fair or it's some type of career job fair, please take your student to that space so they can get in the habit and routine of talking and building relationship with companies and corporations within the community, and also with college recruiters. Everybody knows everybody. I'll say that I've learned that in this space. And so anytime you attend a college and career fair, make sure that you all are going as your best. I always tell parents and students, make sure you put on some decent clothing. I think that's an important conversation because when you walk up to the table at a college and career fair, you're being judged, right? You're being judged. So it's important that you present your best presentation. Schedule college campus visits if you can. Colleges are doing virtual visits as well. So you could schedule a virtual tour, or you can schedule now an on-campus tour. Just make sure if there are COVID guidelines that you follow the COVID guidelines. Make sure you're scheduling a meeting with your parent, with your teacher and your counselor. As Robert said, going up to the school for 30 minutes, building relationships. Sometimes scholarships come through on a counselor's desk and they, everybody's human and I do this. I forget it's on my desk until a parent or a student comes in like, I'm looking for some money. I'm like, you know what? I just got an email about scholarship. Here it is right here. And that's how I got my PhD paid for. I'll be honest with you. I didn't pay for my doctorate because I walked in the office at Southern Miss. It was a new program. The secretary said, oh, I'm glad you walked in here. We're looking for an African-American male to get a scholarship to. I was like, I'm glad I walked in here today because I hadn't planned on doing that. And so walk in these spaces, walk in the office, make sure that people know who you are. Update your personal information. I was working with a school system in Mississippi, and many of the students didn't know their social security number. They did not know the address where they live, right? Because they've moved several times. And so students, you'll be surprised, they don't know their home addresses, right? And people are asking them in regards to completing information, this personal information. So make sure that your scholars and your homes know personal information, your phone number, where you work, their home addresses, their own personal social security number. Summer internship, shadowing opportunity. If there's an opportunity within your city or someone at your church, or there's a shadowing program, push your children to do that. This is when they're going to find out, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this particular job, space, or opportunity that has been given to me. So they may like the opportunity, but they may not like the job, right? And it's okay for them to say, you know what, I don't like that. I may change. I'm looking to do something else. That's where you want them to have that experience to say yes and no. And make sure that happens 10th grade and 11th grade. It's always good to start that there. And then, of course, back to developing your student resume. Make sure that your scholars in your homes are developing their resume. I keep a Google Docs. Every time that I make a presentation, that I do something, I put it in the Google Docs, and then I add that to my resume, my Vita. So those are things that you can do as parents at home, just to make sure that everything is staying organized. Next slide, please. This is the book that I wrote. It's called A Cut Above, Results of Positive Male Mentoring. I've mentored probably 300 young men at this point, probably more than that. And so I write about that experience, what that experience is like. And also I have some of the stories of the young men that I've mentored in the book. Many of them come from very challenging backgrounds, but they're successful. They're rocket scientists, they're doctors, and they're lawyers. They're Robert, who just spoke, and just having the opportunity to see them come from the spaces that they've come out of, which was very challenging, and to be successful men. So that's important, and family men at that. Next slide. And then again, we're open again up the floor up for questions. I saw a question with financial aid. Did I see that? What about the federal financial aid process with parents? Great question. So this is one of the big hangups in college, right? People are not submitting the information in a timely manner. So when you know your child is going to college, you can submit that a year or two in advance. And it's very easy now. You go to financialfasta.com and you upload your taxes. But what we found in certain communities, people don't want to upload their taxes, or they don't want to give the personal information that the federal government is asking for. That has a tendency to hold up the students' processes of getting financial aid. Remember, it is a financial aid process. It doesn't process overnight. And if the university says the deadline for payment is October the 13th, and you just submitted October 1, it may not be processed. So you can't go up to the school, call the phone. I deal with parents getting on the phone. They're fussing at me. But then when you log into the system, they hadn't uploaded the correct information. So begin that process a year in advance. October 1 begins the new fiscal year of financial aid. You can start October 1 to submit your taxes to start your financial aid. Make sure you keep a piece of paper or put it in your phone, all of your login information, that's an issue as well. People lose their login information for their financial aid account. So you want to make sure you keep all of that organized. I tell parents have a folder and you put all that information in a folder and you scan it as well. Take a picture with your phone and email it to yourself. Robert, you want to talk about financial aid in your space as well?
Yes, I would. The cost of college in terms of financial aid, Pell Grants, and all of that stuff really take some time with your student to develop a list of colleges that they want to attend. And once you complete your financial aid, they provide you with a family financial contribution estimate, which is based off your tax return and how much they think you ought to pay. But really look at the colleges and the cost in comparison to the amount that you're getting to determine is that college really feasible? Because what I found is that some students want to go to these rather expensive schools, but financially they cannot afford it. So make sure that you're having that realistic conversation with your student and say, hey, we may want to consider going to the community college where pretty much your Pell Grant will cover the cost of that. Let's graduate and then let's do well in the community college, and then we can apply for some scholarships at the four-year institution level. So when it comes down to cost, don't be afraid to have that conversation with your student, because you don't want them to come back to you saying, hey, mom, you want to pull out $30,000 in student loans or loans to help me pay for college? Like, avoid that conversation by having the financial aid and financial contribution conversation ahead of time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
We have a question. Are there classes at Hattiesburg High School or anywhere in our curriculum where we teach students how to type a resume? And that, so Ms. Vaughn has stated in, yes, the career lab facilitator, we call her Miss Abby. Miss Abby will work with students on, so students can actually receive assistance filling out their federal financial aid application at Hattiesburg High School in the counselor's office. Also registering for the ACT, college admissions, we have someone on campus that will help you walk through that process, username, password, uploading information. Also, there are classes at Hattiesburg High School that will help students with that process. Also, the College and Career Readiness course is a required course in the state of Mississippi. So students will also have the opportunity to take that course as well.
Also, I want to add to that, in Miss Abby's role and also in the counselor's office, they send out scholarships, various scholarships throughout the year. I can speak to it personally as a parent. I checked my email today and I had 2 scholarship opportunities and summer camp opportunities that were sent to me from Miss Abby on school status. So with that, she will help you, walk you through even the resume process. We also have someone in the career lab, not only upstairs, but downstairs at the high school, there is a computer lab facilitator that will assist you with even filling out job applications, whatever it is that you need to do on the computer. So there's someone there in both of those spaces to assist our students.
And so what we're asking students and parents to do, this is a slide that says sometimes in life, everything goes smoothly and sometimes unexpected happens. The important thing, knowing how to turn problems into opportunities. So as Dr. Cunningham stated, there are opportunities all around. In Hattiesburg Public School District, students can actually graduate junior college before they graduate high school. But that opportunity, and we pay for it. We pay for the tuition, we pay for the books, we provide the transportation. So it's at no cost to the student. But that opportunity is available for those students who are prepared for it. And so we're also offering preparation opportunities. 7th, 8th, 9th graders and 10th graders can participate in ACT boot camps, in which we have a partnership with Pearl River Community College. Our parents, you're going to hear more about little things that everyone can do to make a difference. Not going to go much into that tonight, but there are 2 things that everyone can do. And really one we can show care and concern for someone else. That's one little thing that we can do to help our students in our community continue to move forward. And going to end with this, I always like ending with this slide. These are some kids. I just Googled them and put a picture up there. This is my first year teaching at South Forest Attendance Center. I promise you, I'm up there. I'm in the top left. And these are my two kids. They wake up every day excited to go to Hattiesburg Public Schools and go to Woodley Elementary School. My mission is, and our mission is, how do we take kids we don't know? When they become in our care, we treat them like our own. And so Mayor Barker talks about, and if you go downtown Hattiesburg, it's this quote that's on the wall. It says, it is the spirit, it is the Hattiesburg spirit to go after things and to get them, especially large things. And that's what we're trying to do in Hattiesburg Public School District. We want all students to excel and achieve. We want them to be life ready, college ready, and workforce ready, so that they can have those options and those choices that we all want them to have. And so I want to thank all the parents for chiming in. And at this time, I want to, if Dr. Cunningham has any closing remarks, or if Mr. Henderson has any closing remarks before we leave tonight. And then Ms. Vaughn, if you can close it out with the next session dates. Dr. Cunningham.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Just thank you for this opportunity. I'm excited to share my knowledge with you all. Education is dear to me because it's made an impact in my life. So thank you for this opportunity, and to the awesome parents that are on, and community leaders and supporters. Thank you.
Mr. Henderson.
I'll conclude by saying thank you all for the opportunity to share my experience and my story. Parents, I know that it's difficult. I know that the process in getting from elementary school to middle school to high school to tech school or college or job workforce readiness is difficult, it's long, and it's hard, but the time that you put in is valuable, it's needed, and it's necessary. So continue to do that. I won't tell you that it's going to get easier, but my mom thanks me every day for the amount of time that she put in, because she's getting dividends paid on the back end. She doesn't have to worry about whether I'm working or not. I have retirement, I have state benefits. And so keep putting it in. I know it's difficult, but ask those questions for things that you don't know. Reach out to people who may know, and so that you can build a network, because that's going to help you and your child transition well to the next phase of life that you're trying to get them to. So thank you all. If you need anything, I definitely wouldn't mind sharing my contact information to whoever involved, so I can be a resource for you in the college space.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cunningham, Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson, you ended it just right. The original title of this session was "Get Off My Couch," but we took it and we cleaned it up to make it more formal. But you said the words, your mama does not have to worry about you. You are all right. You're able to take care of yourself. And that's ultimately the goal of all of it. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Thank you for the panelists, the directors, Dr. Williams, Ms. Baxter there, Ms. Howard, Mr. Brown. Thank you all, and to our HPSD administrators who are also on the line. Thank you all for participating as well. I did drop it in the chat. Our next session, it is March 31st, and it is entitled "The Power of a Lifeline." And it's going to share with you all how to use all available resources to your advantage to assist yourself and your family and that person that you are raising, that student, to be a responsible young adult. And then our last session in the series is entitled "Great Decisions, Great Possibilities." And so just making the right decision at the right time, choosing to do one thing instead of another thing, making those right decisions. So we're going to work through that space. We thank you, parents, for giving us this idea of saying that you wanted more opportunities to learn and to partner and to share. And we're just so thankful for the convenience of it all for doing Zoom. So we invite you to join us on March 31st. Share the link with others. Continue to pass the word. Yes, Miss Bodie, and to everyone, the slides will be available to you all afterwards. We have Dr. Cunningham's presentation. We'll also get their email addresses and drop it underneath the slide. Also, we'll get it to Miss Baxter, our communications director, who will post it on our YouTube. So if you have not joined our YouTube, it's HPS Communications, and there is a playlist. We have a special playlist entitled Tiger Connect, and it showcases all of the parenting series that we've been doing for about a year now. So we'll add this session to it also. I want to let you know, for those of you who do listen to podcasts, we're going to turn that series into a podcast broadcast also. So Dr. Cunningham may be our very first podcast that we share there. So we're excited about that. Again, thank you all so very much. We know it was a night. There was a Black History program at Hattiesburg High. There was a parenting meeting at Rowan. Everyone is busy. Just thank you, Ms. Trotter, and for everyone else that joined in. Track was going on, softball, all those good things. But you do what you do and you do it well and you make it look easy. So thank you all so much. Have a good evening. And we're going to bring this to a close. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.